Welcome into episode number 1 of Hoops Talk. I'm your host, Dave Smith, here on January the 8th. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're listening to us today. I'd like to welcome you in. First thing I want to do is tell you a little bit about what this podcast is going to be. It's going to be roughly a 10 to 12 minute podcast each day, recapping the action that we saw last night in both college basketball and the NBA, as well as previewing some of the big games taking place this evening. So, without further ado, we are going to start with last night's college basketball game, starting with what was supposed to be, on paper, the game of the night, Florida versus Tennessee. But let me tell you, this game was not fun to watch. It was a complete beatdown from the Gators. They won the final score of 73-43, and they really put themselves in great position to move up to even a number 1 seed. There were a lot of people that were unsure about Florida's strength of schedule heading into SEC play, and we all know SEC play will test you. Will test you night in, night out. There's no easy game in the SEC. But Florida, they hand the final unbeaten team in college basketball, which was the AP number 1 Tennessee Volunteers, hands them their first loss. Tennessee finished the game 4 of 29 from 3. They were 1 of 21 from 3 at one point. They weren't able to get anything going. And, of course, the game was in Gainesville, and we know winning on the road is never, ever easy, no matter where you do it, no matter what conference you're in, who you're playing. Going on the road and winning a college basketball game is not an easy feat to do. Moving on, another terrific game last night. The Georgia Bulldogs winning over Kentucky at home in Athens. And we all know they, once again, winning on the road, it's tough to do. And Georgia, that was a massive, massive win for them and their March Madness chances. Their chances of making the NCAA tournament, they just went up exponentially because that is a quad 1 win for the Bulldogs at home there. Big time for Georgia there. Look to keep that momentum moving forward. Up next, a couple of quad 2 home wins here. One for Missouri, winning a quad 2 game at home over LSU. LSU looking like it could be one of few SEC teams that end up on the outside of the NCAA tournament, on the wrong side of the bubble. LSU trending the wrong direction. Missouri, quad 2 win, moving in the right direction. As far as LSU goes, it's a quad 1 loss for them, and so it's not necessarily one that will kill their resume or bury them, so to speak. It's not going to be the reason they don't make it in March, but definitely a missed opportunity for the Tigers there. But their tournament chances continue to slim. Louisville, a big win at home over Clemson. Louisville, they're right there on the bubble as well. This was a big one for them to be able to get a win over Clemson, who's now sitting somewhere in the 8 to 9 seed range. I would say closer to a 9. Louisville, they're right there at that 11 spots. They're one of a lot of bracketologists have them last 4 buys. That's a big quad 2 win over Clemson to keep them there. Talking about taking care of business at home. Iowa State took care of business. Duke took care of business. Marquette, now they were tested in the first half. Don't get me wrong, but they ended up pulling ahead late in the game, winning the game by a comfortable margin of 8 over Georgetown. Duke took care of business at home against Pitt. Pitt, a really fun team to watch. I think they've had a couple of bad road losses, and I mean, when I say bad road losses, I mean they have gotten the brakes beat off of them. They have gotten dominated, and so they need to find a way to kind of get one of those wins at home. They're trending in the wrong direction. They're still sitting around the 7 seed spot right now, but nonetheless, big win for Duke, big win for Marquette. Iowa State, big win over Utah, winners by 23 points. Baylor handling business at home there, and Baylor, team to watch around that 5-6 line. They've got a talent to make a really, really deep run in March, and so being able to continue to string together some wins for Baylor will be very important to see more consistency from that team. Nebraska falls just short against Iowa, and this would have been a big game for Nebraska to win, without a doubt. But Iowa defending the home floor in overtime, and I mean they were just dominant from start to finish in overtime. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Once that game got to overtime, after Nebraska had a very clutch 3 to send it to overtime, Iowa pulled away big time. Some road wins that we saw here. We saw Auburn face a test in Austin against Texas. Now, this game, down the stretch, the Longhorns were making tough shots. Nonetheless, Auburn, who I think we're going to see them become the AP number one now that Tennessee has lost, because without a doubt they are the best team in college basketball, I would say. And I don't think there's much debate to it at this moment. All the metrics show them as the number one team in basketball. This is the best team. They are the odds-on favorite to win it all for a reason. This is a very, very, very good team. Arizona, massive win for Arizona. They were able to really go into Morgantown at West Virginia, and they dominated, really from start to finish. And they were up on them. They got up big at times, ended up winning by 19 points. This win for Arizona was massive. I mean, they were sitting right on the 10, 11 seed line, but they quickly moving up there. I'd say some places have them now as high as a 6 or a 7 seed because of that one win. And you've got our friends over at KenPom who have them at number 12, and they shot up their rankings, number 12 overall, even with only 9 wins. Even being a 9-5 team, they're still number 12. Metrics love them. They passed the eye test. They played a really tough schedule, and they haven't really lost a lot of bad games there. So they've got a big opportunity in front of them moving forward to be able to continue to climb up the seed lines because all their numbers check out to string together some bigger wins. Mississippi State, big road win for them at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt on the right side of the bubble for now. This loss for Vanderbilt obviously not going to cost them. It's big to defend your home floor in the SEC. You've got to do it. So Vanderbilt needs to do that. Mississippi State, they're a very, very tough team to play against Chris Jans and the Bulldogs. They're sitting right now at top 3 seed at the moment and only trending upwards, it seems. What another game of the night last night, Michigan versus UCLA, and it was dominated from the Michigan Wolverines. They pulled away late in this one, winning 94-75. Michigan, that's a big win for them. That'll be a massive win. Come March, come Selection Sunday, you'll see that win referred to as being a win at UCLA, one they really needed to get to help bolster that resume moving forward. Next, St. John's, big-time winners last night against Xavier, and that was another road win. I mean, it's never easy to win on the road no matter the conference. The Big East this year may not be as strong as people expected it to be or as people want it to be. Nonetheless, it's still a basketball conference for a reason, and that's a big win for St. John's there, one that helps them bolster their tournament resume as they were sitting right around the 9 seed line. I'd expect them now, when you see the brackets come out, them to be closer to the 7 line moving forward. Utah State, big road win. It's only a quad 3 win for them, but one that didn't necessarily look pretty. It wasn't their best game, wasn't a great game. I mean, this is a Mountain West team sitting closer to the 5 seed line right now, and nonetheless, they were able to take care of business. Big bubble win last night for Texas Tech. The Red Raiders going into BYU and winning that one. I mean, that's a massive win for Texas Tech there. Elijah Hawkins, 22 points. They were underdogs heading into this game. BYU the favorite at home. And nonetheless, they were able to pull that one off. That's big for their resume. Looking ahead to tonight's games, you've got Alabama versus South Carolina. That'll be a fun one to watch. Ole Miss, Arkansas. Whew. Talk about a top 25 matchup right there. That will be a great one to see. And let me talk to you about South Carolina here real quick. I'll backstep. South Carolina, I think, is consensus the worst team in the SEC. We saw them on Saturday lose by 35 to Mississippi State in Starkville. Nonetheless, if you're Alabama, you cannot be sleepwalking into this game. You're still going on the road against an SEC opponent. You've got to be able to do what's necessary to win that game. Ole Miss versus Arkansas, that one's not the top 25 matchup. Texas A&M, Oklahoma is a top 25 matchup. That will be an incredible game to watch. Really night in, night out in the SEC. These are really fun games to look at. UConn on the road at Villanova. Villanova, now their chances of making the tournament are not 0, but they are slim, and they need to string together big wins. Defending your home floor against UConn would be just that. Arizona State versus Kansas. Arizona State right now on the wrong side of the bubble. If they can get a road win at Kansas, would be massive for their chances. Their at-large chances come March. And Penn State versus Illinois. Same for Penn State. Going on the road to face Illinois. I think one of those two teams, whether it's Arizona State or Penn State, comes out with a big win tonight to help bolster their resume as we head closer and closer to Selection Sunday. And every day, every night in college basketball is incredible. And there's no doubt that We're going to see a lot of crazy results between now and March. And then as we get to March, when we get to conference tournaments, it's going to be even crazier. One thing I want everyone to know about this podcast as well, there will be special episodes throughout with different guests joining us as we get closer to conference tournament time, as we get closer to March Madness time, as we get into the NBA playoffs, as we get through each round of the NBA playoffs. There will be special episodes that are longer, more for leisurely listening, breaking down some big previews of the NCAA tournament, of the NBA playoffs. And speaking of the NBA, quick recap of some results around last night. First off, Trae Young, a buzzer beater from beyond half court to defeat the Jazz. Colin Sexton hit a three to tie the game at 121 with under 3 seconds to go. Trae Young from 2 steps beyond half court drains it at the buzzer. Big win for the Hawks on the road there. Some would say game of the night in basketball on paper, Celtics and Nuggets. With that being said, Nikola Jokic had an illness pregame, came down with something, was unable to go. Celtics won by 12 in Denver. Charlotte took care of business against Phoenix. Phoenix really struggling. They need to figure some stuff out there. Bradley Beal now coming off the bench. There's some rifts in the locker room. They've got to figure out what's happening there. Lakers and Mavs. LeBron finished 2 assists shy of a triple-double, 18 points. The Mavericks win their first game in 10 without Luka and Kyrie. Big win for them. Timberwolves, great road win in New Orleans by 7 over the Pels. The Heat, big win for them. Nikola Jokic led the way with 20 points. Bam, big-time stat line. 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists with 2 big dunks down the stretch in this Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat team, and that's a whole situation for another day. Looking ahead to tonight in the NBA, big game on the docket is Thunder Cavs. That will be a really, really fun one to watch. Given a chance to watch these two teams, I know they may come from smaller markets. They may not be the big-time names, the big teams that you see ESPN talking about. These right now are the best 2 records in the NBA. I won't say the best 2 teams. They are the best 2 records in the NBA, and this will be a great game to watch. That's starting at 7 p.m. Eastern in Cleveland on ESPN. You'll have to check that out. And that will do it for today's episode of Hoops Talk. Once again, I'm your host, Dave Smith. Thank you for joining us on episode number 1. We look forward to seeing you back tomorrow.